to remake this state in the image of our people.
Police think about Zohran, because I know that's like a little contentious.
What they think. You're a city employee. You get told what to do. Shut up. When did you get an opinion?
The way that prisons are set up in our society, I would argue that they do not work. They do not make us safer. Like when we talk about policing, I don't think the system actually makes us safer. Jail population of Rikers has increased since Eric Adams has come into office by more than 1,000 additional incarcerated New Yorkers. And what is quite staggering to me is that we know that we can reduce that jail population to less than 4,000. It comes out of an understanding that policing is something that does not create safety. And what we need to do is reinvest into things that are proven indicators and creators of safety.
The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
So he did it. Zohran has become mayor of New York City. The city of high rent and ridiculous taxes has just picked a self-described socialist to fix it all.
New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change. A mandate for a new kind of politics. A mandate for a city we can afford. And a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that.
And we're going to talk about the big questions. What happens next? So in this video, I want to at least have some predictions on what I think is going to happen in the New York City. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be the utopia that he's promising. Let's get into it.
Done.
What do you think it means that this guy ran as a socialist and anti-communism didn't work to stop him? That's big.
Yeah, I think we are in the heart of the imperial core. This is the country that defeated the USSR, unfortunately.
So I found it interesting because I think, in my opinion, I told you guys a couple of days ago that Mamdani was going to win. If you lived here, if you know what's going on, Mamdani was the only one with a lot of emotion here. I think a lot of outside entities that were checking out this race, either away from New York City, was, I don't know if they were trying to make it seem like somehow Cuomo was going to win this thing. And if you live here and if you really understand what's going on here, you would know that after the first debate, Zohran was going to probably win the mayoral election here. I saw a lot of videos saying how the campaigns collapsed and this big thing and that happened, that New York is going to reject Mamdani. Like that, none of that made any sense. New York City is an extremely progressive place. They found their hero in Mamdani. He has ran a very effective campaign on social media. He was able to get on tons of podcasts, tons of shows. He was the positive, smiling candidate. Cuomo was extremely dislikable. He was a disgraced governor that had policies that killed people during the pandemic. I'm talking about the senior citizens. It was a terrible, terrible slate of candidates, and Zohran was the one that won. Why did he win? Obviously, he had a lot of things he ran on. He ran on freezing the rent, taxing the rich, and reimagining public safety. Problem is, everything about that sentence is going to make a lot of people nervous. Wall Street, obviously, landlords, obviously, and cops probably running for early retirement. So let's talk about the obvious situation, crime.
What do you think will happen NYPD-wise if Mamdani gets elected mayor of New York City?
It could be based on rhetoric and ideas that he's putting out. He's not hiding the fact of what he wants to do. And your DNA is your DNA. So if he wins and he puts forth his public agenda, there are about 4,000 cops that could leave in January.
We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Right? We have to make, not specifically that example all the time.
So are you, do you think that we have to almost do without policing in certain areas which are labeled to be high crimes, to have alternative bodies, do the policing in a more compassionate, more merciful, more social? assisting and helping more than arresting and putting in jail.
I absolutely think that what we need to do is give support and funding to institutions that are trained to deal with these kinds of issues.
Mamdani has been on the record and said that we don't need more police. He also said that we should defund the police. Obviously, he has backtracked from that statement to get elected. He literally said we have enough cops, while the NYPD is losing hundreds to retirement, stress, and burnout. So the cops said that they're already short-staffed, and when you're short-staffed, response times are going to be slow and morale is going to be low. Now imagine telling the remaining officers, hey, don't worry, we got backup for you. We're going to help you with bringing up a bunch of social workers. Good luck with that.
I want to be very clear. We are not defunding the police. What we are talking about is sustaining the number of police that we have within the police department. And when I talk to those police officers themselves, they tell me they signed up to join the police force to tackle serious crimes. And yet what they're being asked to do today is serve as mental health professionals and social workers, to have a Department of Community Safety with teams of dedicated mental health outreach workers at the top 100 stations with the highest levels of mental health crisis and homelessness. We have to deliver public safety.
Social workers are great for somewhat calm situations, but this is New York. Anything can turn into an extremely aggressive domestic situation in seconds. So what's going to happen with those social workers? They're going to wind up calling the cops anyway. So in my opinion, because of the lack of cops, crime will probably going to go up. It may not be overnight, but it's going to happen little by little. Less police presence, more bold criminals is going to have more chaos. So I'm going to predict probably next summer, we're going to see an increase in crime. There's not enough cops on the streets. And the way Zohran has been talking, he doesn't want to say defund the police, but him saying taking resources away to other things to help the police, it's just another way of saying defund the police. But let's talk about the money situation. He wants to raise taxes in an economy that's flirting with a recession. Doesn't sound like a great idea. And he's got to convince Albany and Governor Kathy Hochul to hike taxes when she already said no thanks.
Because you're talking about a rent freeze, you're talking about free buses, you're talking about free childcare. Can you do that without raising taxes?
I think you can do that, and I think you have to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make more than $1 million a year, and you do that by raising taxes by them 2%. And then you also increase the corporate tax of New York State to match that of New Jersey. So that takes us from about 7.25 to about 11.5%, which is what we see in New Jersey. These things together raise about $9 billion, which more than pays for our economic agenda.
We know that Mamdani does want to tax the rich more, bring it up about 2%. He can't do that on his own. You've previously said that you wouldn't be raising taxes. Have you reconsidered that stance?
No, I would say one energetic rally does not get me to change my positions, I assure you. But I do hear people's voices. I process what everybody says, but I'm also have to balance governing this state and making sure that those people who are actually the reason we have a generous, supportive budget that helps lift people up, it's their revenues that we tax. 1.5% of New Yorkers cover about a third of our budget. That's enormous. I'm concerned about out-migration of people who are the ones who are supporting our budget. I cannot make up for that with middle-class tax increases. I cannot do that to the middle class and the struggling New Yorkers. So this is the balance. I mean, this is my position.
We have to remind ourselves that New York is an extremely huge state. It takes 5 hours to drive to Buffalo. Shout out to Benny the Butcher. So you're basically going to have to explain to everyone else that's in the state that, hey, New York City wants more money. I think that's probably going to be an issue with that. So therefore, he's going to hit that wall. He's going to say it's about fairness, but when you raise taxes in a shaky economy, people with money will do one of two things. They're either going to hide it or they're going to move. We've already seen this when people are leaving New York, then coming in. Same thing with happening in California. So it's not going to be a positive experience when people are looking at the limited resources they have and then thinking, well, I got to pay more rent to be here. Maybe I should leave. Now let's talk about rent. Rent is extremely expensive. I pay a lot of money on rent. Everyone wants some rent relief. So he's saying he's going to freeze rent to help struggling New Yorkers. And there's only a certain amount of apartments that he can do this to. It's not all apartments. But the thing is, freezing rent doesn't make rent cheaper. It just makes landlords stop building. So this is really basic economics. Why would anyone invest hundreds of thousands or probably millions of dollars into apartments that they can't profit from. You're basically telling the builders, spend all your money here to make zero return.
When a new generation of progressive politicians, that would later include Zohran Mamdani, took control of New York state government and passed a bill that undid those reforms, turning New York's rent regulation laws once again into the most stringent in the nation.
We are going to look back 6 years now. There will be no more displacement, disenfranchisement.
But 6 years later, the 2019 law has made New York City's housing crisis worse. Landlords aren't burning down their buildings to collect the insurance money, but there are parallels to what happened in the South Bronx. Building owners are keeping properties off the market and allowing them to fall into disrepair because prices are set too low to cover their costs.
These apartments are like mothballed, right? You know, they're like a ship that can't sail anymore.
Kenny Burgos, who is head of the New York Apartment Association, took me to one of the many apartments being held off the market. The landlord can't rent it because it's not up to code.
This is a 3-bedroom apartment. This is over $100,000 to upgrade. When you're talking wiring, lead remediation, appliance upgrades, floor leveling.
But the regulated rent is set so low that the landlord would never recoup his costs.
Therefore, the people who can build won't. The housing supply will drop, demand will stay high, and then obviously the rent will stay high where it is. Or worse, it may even creep higher in market rate units. It's basic economics. Why would you invest in something that you can't make any money out of? Now, he says he's going to somehow build 200,000 new affordable homes. That's a great dream, but in reality, it's like saying we're going to build the pyramids with a GoFundMe account. Developers won't bite unless it's a profit. And since Mamdani's platform is punishing profit, construction will probably crawl. Projects will probably stall or not even start in the first place. The red tape will probably multiply, and therefore 4 years later, maybe a few thousand may get built, but 200,000? Why would someone build and not get any money? What's the point?
He showed me one of his empty units.
It hasn't been touched since the tenant passed away.
The city has set the rent at about $1,000 a month, or a fraction of its market value.
This is one of those shuttered apartments. Some people call them zombie apartments. It's locked up, it's dead. The math doesn't work. Day one, I rent it, I would be at a loss.
And here's the irony of all this. Even if Albany somehow resists, taxes will probably still go up because the city's spending will probably explode and someone has to pay for it. Now, everyone's saying it will be the billionaires, but since billionaires have all the resources, they're either going to pay the bare minimum, find more loopholes, or buy that house in Miami. So the real hit is going to land on the really small middle and upper middle class. Your doctors, your lawyers, your small business owners, the ones that can't hide their income or skip town. So therefore, the people who already carry the city's tax base will just get squeezed harder. And the poor, they're still going to struggle because inflation eats, and the poor will still struggle because inflation eats whatever relief they're going to get. And it's possible that many of these people are going to leave. I don't think everyone is going to leave, but if you have a family and you have your kids in the middle of grade school, if you have a family, uprooting your family to go somewhere really far away is not going to be a great idea. Are you going to leave the state entirely, go to Jersey? But Jersey taxes are pretty high. Let's recap with this new administration and my predictions. I think crime is going to go up because we have fewer cops. Taxes are going to go up because math is undefeated. Basic economics just makes sense. Rent is going to stay high because the freezes don't fix the supply. And the developers will back out because profit is the engine that builds the city. And obviously the middle class, what's left of it, will get squeezed while the rich find the exits. So Mamdani is just an inexperienced person that I think has not had a job before, never ran a business, and he's going to try to find a way to fix all this where he doesn't really have any of the tools to do so. But people want him to try. People are really desperate for change. So let's see how the Zohran experiment goes, because winning an election is easy, but keeping a city from collapsing is the hard part. I don't see how this is going to work out in a positive way. If he will continue to push these socialist-style policies, New York is going to learn the hard way. You get what you vote for. You can't freeze rent, tax the rich, and cut cops and expect the city to get safer or cheaper. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that it's possible this is going to work, or this is just going to be a really sad 4 years for New Yorkers? Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.